Ladies and gentlemen, this is the Anecdotal Economist, and I'm going to talk today about why gold and silver are just not really an inflation hedge anymore, because the system is broken. And once again, this is the part where I would do the intro, but I am no longer doing intros. You might get tired of hearing me say that until I can update and get a better one. And I have to make a correction from my previous video. I had actually said that this milk spot was a fingerprint, and upon further inspection, it is not a fingerprint, it's a milk spot, and in fact it's on both sides in the same spot. So something happened at the factory. Once again, Royal Mint letting me down. I will just say that you can tell the difference between a fingerprint on a coin because you can usually see the actual fingerprint. It's usually quite obvious. Not always, but usually quite obvious. So just a little tidbit before we get into it. Now we're going to talk about inflation. Is gold and silver a hedge for inflation? And I was being a little bit facetious because it is in fact a hedge for inflation, but it doesn't matter anymore because everything is now a hedge for inflation. I just saw Costco sell out of bulk eggs because all the prices of the other eggs went up, and the shelf and the pallets all the way up to the floor, from the floor to the roof, were gone for the bulk eggs because they were cheaper, and the rest of the eggs were still there. And so we're at a point now where I think people have realized that inflation is a thing. We can see it happening in the automotive markets, in the housing markets, in all kinds of markets. And that's not to say that some markets don't go down and that gold and silver are not maybe a better hedge for inflation. But I would say if you're buying them and expecting them to go up in a rapid and explosive way, which I think a fair number of us would like to see if it didn't come with all the related consequences, well, then you may be a little bit disappointed if you're just looking at inflation. But instead, what I would like to propose is that gold and silver are a system hedge, specifically when you talk about physical, because see, these are out of the system. These are in your hands. Somebody can't just seize these unless they come and knock down your front door, or they know where you have it underground in the backyard or on the farm, or if it fell out of your boat during an accident. Those are the worst situations. You hate to hear about it. Happens way too often. I don't know what people are doing. I never take my stack on the boat. But when I do, I'll be sure to share it with you on the channel. Now, having said that, I just want to point out that really and truly, I believe that the system is going through some changes. And you may say, well, what is the system? And that's a great question. It's kind of like the proverbial they. You know, who are they? But I think it's just this worldwide feeling that something is coming, something is not right. We've been through some rough times. Maybe we're in the eye of the storm. Maybe it's going to get worse before it gets better. And that's not to say I don't have hope that things are going to get better. It's just to say that sometimes when it rains, it pours. And so the whole point of this is, again, not to say that, inflation's not a valid reason for buying gold and silver anymore. It's simply to point out that things seem to be changing. As I've pointed out, my metrics that I use to make decisions to buy my gold and silver, I'm still using them, and it's requiring a lot more discipline than normal because I have that desire to panic buy, to go in and say, hey, I have an extra $1,000. Why don't I just go buy a tube of silver, just to top it up? But I don't want to do that because I know if there's a pullback, I'll think, I could have got more, right? And I don't need that extra tube. So it's just having that discipline that's key right now. And so what I'm trying to do is not think so much about inflation because I'm in a good position right now. I am trying to think about the system as a whole. I want to stand strong. I want to make sure that I am in a position to watch the system change and not be worried about my wealth. And that's not to say you want to put it all into gold and silver. I talk about this all the time. I like to have multiple different avenues and ways to keep up with things. By the way, there's a milk spot appearing on that tree. I don't know if you could see it in this John coin. I'm very tired of milk spots. I'm going to have to put away the Royal Mint coins. I don't want to complain about it anymore. So long story short, as we see the system continue to change, I believe gold and silver are going to play a bigger and bigger role. And I think that is where we're going to see the mondo gains. I don't think you're going to see it just from inflation because, and I know not everybody agrees with this, I get a lot of negative comments, but there are a lot of deflationary forces. If you understand our financial system, it's actually inherently deflationary. And the reason we get inflation is because the only way to avoid the deflationary collapse is to print our way out of it, which we will do. So I believe inflation is the end game for our financial system. So please don't think that I'm saying that I think deflation is going to be the problem. I'm just saying if you understand the mechanism by which inflation is going to happen, it happens because of deflationary forces. You can study Mike Maloney, you can try to study the dollar milkshake theory, and hopefully if you understand the concept of derivatives and the way our money is created, you'll agree with me, or you can just get mad at me in the comments and say it's all inflation because of money printing. I'm fine with that too. You'll get the same result without quite understanding how it happens, and that's fine. That's fine. You know, could be worse. So my final thoughts, because I know a lot of people must be wondering what's going on with everything this weekend and what made silver and gold take off. You know, I have no idea. There are so many things going on underneath the surface. I suspect we're seeing a lot of private money in addition to central banks purchasing. And I have to think at some point, a lot of the games being played with the physical markets in the ETFs, the shorts, the spoofing, all of these things are going to come unwound, and we're going to see explosive moves like we have the last few days and really most of this year. I think it can continue. I don't know where the top is. I know I wait for pullbacks and buy when there's pullbacks, when nobody's interested. And those pullbacks are getting harder and harder to find. So either way, I'm here for it. I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts on what's going on. I hope you agree with me that silver and gold are now playing a bigger role than just talking about inflation. And with that, it's time to review a coin. I've got this 10-ounce Robinhood since we've been kind of finishing off the Royal Mint series. It seemed appropriate to pop it out of the capsule and really get a good look. And I can tell you that I think this is the exact same picture, more or less, that you see in the 1-ounce coin, but because it's so much bigger, you really get more detail. Like his face actually looks sort of like this stern, angry face. The foliage looks really good. You can see now finally that sort of dotted, square-looking background that I was trying to show in the 1-ounce coins, and I just could not get it to go through. But now you can see it clearly. I mean, look at the detail on the quiver. His belt, he's got like a little sword, knife, pokey thing. I don't know what's going on there. Even just the string, thick silver string right there. So I mean, 10-ounce fine silver, 4/9 fine, 2023 coin. If you don't know, what they're doing with these releases is they are doing one release, holy cow, this is heavy in the hand, of the 1-ounce coin, and then they wait a year or two and they bring out the 10-ounce. So I think I've just decided I'm going to go ahead and buy the 10-ounce Little John just to complete the series. I really do like these. I hope they hold their value, but if they don't, I'd be happy to hold all 3 10-ouncers until I die. You know, when they make a 10-ounce coin this big, the bedazzling really looks, I always complain about the bedazzling for those of you that are new. It actually looks good on a 10-ounce coin, right? It's not too busy anymore because this coin is so large that I really think it looks sharp. You know, I really, really like the look of it. These are some of my favorite 10-ounce rounds. I have some other 10-ounce coins, rather, from other mints that I will show in the future. But these are some of my favorite. They really do look good. Fairly thick, you know, as thick as a sort of a 2.5-ounce coin normally. They did go more for the diameter. It's a huge, chunky coin. And, you know, just the thickness of the branches and everything on there, it is good. I have no complaints. I could recommend these to anybody. I'll also point out there's no milk spotting on this coin, and there's no milk spotting on any of the 10-ounce rounds. So I think the Royal Mint does go above and beyond to get rid of the milk spots on these, and I just wish they would figure that out for the single ounces. I don't know if it's laziness or just lack of care or it's a cost thing. I have no idea what causes them to do that to their 1-ounce coins, but I'm very happy that it's not on my 10-ouncer. So that is my review, and because of the uniqueness of this coin, it is going to have to go back in the capsule. I'm not going to leave this one exposed. I can pop that capsule off anytime I want if I want to look at it. But what we're going to do, I always like to keep 2 things going on in the background. So I'm actually going to pop out these gold backs, a little gaudy looking in that lighting anyway. And we are going to stick this guy right here for your viewing pleasure, and keep that in the background. So that's my review for today. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been the Anecdotal Economist. I appreciate all of the likes and subscribes I've gotten. The channel is growing very rapidly. We're coming up on 1,900 subscribers, so I sincerely appreciate that. If you want to support the channel with a comment, but you don't know what to say, today's keyword will be deuce. I think that means 10. Nah, that's not a good one. I change it to 10 ounce. It'll be 10 ounce. And so with that, that's my 2 ounces worth. Thanks so much for watching. Remember, I'm pulling for you. And we're all in this together.
Kilogram, you're the dragon, you're the rabbit.
Okay, let's look at the money side now. Watch as I pull this bad boy out of here. Absolutely stunning once you get it out of the case. Feeling the weight of this in my hand. Oh, that's such a good feeling.
I never had enough gold.